What Shankar emphasizes is that a man endowed with self-knowledge is free from all trace of duality, the illusory notions of a doer, an instrument, and the result of his action. His activity is really the same as his knowledge of reality. Every phase of action, its every accessory, he sees nothing but infinite Brahman. The action that is free from the notion of a doer, an instrument, and the result is knowledge itself. He who sees an action in action and action in inaction, he is wise among men. He is a yogi and he has performed all action. The important thing to remember here is that emphasis is laid on the knowledge that inspires the action and not on the outer action itself. An ignorant person and a knower of Brahman may seem to engage in the same kind of work, for instance, eating or sleeping, but whereas the former may see in his action the presence of the ego or various material factors, the latter sees in it only Brahman. It is knowledge that distinguishes a wise man from an ignorant. In a man endowed with self-knowledge, eternal peace and eternal action are harmonized in an inexplicable manner. Such a man works as God himself works. The whirlwind activities of the universe touch only the periphery of the Godhead, whose inner being is of the nature of peace. Shankara himself is an example of this. A knower of Brahman, he was far from being an inactive man. As from a higher standpoint of physical science, one cannot distinguish matter from energy. So also from the standpoint of the Absolute, one cannot distinguish non-activity from activity. The most intense form of movement often creates an illusion of immobility. Any discussion of the Absolute or attempt to understand it through the dialects of the relative world will bristle with contradiction. Shankar knows the value of action in the unfoldment of spiritual life. He recommends again and again the path of work for the ignorant and the beginners, for those in whose minds the idea of multiplicity is firmly impressed. Those who see the duality of good and evil must work to eliminate evil till they realize that good and evil are two inseparable entities, two inescapable factors of the relative world. They may engage according to their temperaments in ritualistic worship or philanthropic action. Those conscious of worldly responsibilities may do their activities to their family, community, or country, but the Gita enjoins workers to perform their duties in a spirit of detachment, surrendering the results to God. Then alone does the work or karma become dharma and purify the mind by removing the illusory notion of duality. The man of pure mind sees the blissful Brahman within, without, and everywhere. His fear and expectation give place to an inner calmness and self-assurance, his longing and restlessness to unruffled peace. More and more he becomes engrossed in the contemplation of reality. If his mind is diverted outward by any lingering desire for work, he is admonished by an inner voice. Follow me. Follow me and let the dead bury their dead. You have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. Such a person may not fit into any scheme of social service or patriotic endeavor. He may not be utilized to promote worldly culture, yet he is the salt of the earth. Such a person also desists from ritualistic action, which is in general the meaning of the action denounced by Shankara in his commentary on the Gita, in order to secure happiness in heaven as promised by religion. Discovering the self to be the abode of real happiness, he renounces all the illusory happiness of the relative world. That is why the organized religions often disapprove his conduct and denounce him as a rebel. Thus, when the mind and senses are completely withdrawn from the outside world and freed from all desires, and when they are directed to the eternal reality, there comes the great revelation, the knowledge of truth, which destroys the ignorance and delusion of the relative world. The dreamer wakens from sleep and enters a world of a new dimension. The timid and hesitant fledgling jumps from the nest into the crisp autumn air and flies toward the dome of heaven. It is a new life, with its own beauty and grandeur. The old law is discarded, there is no more return to the world of ignorance. The Gita often declares that a man of self-knowledge is not born again. This birth refers to birth in ignorance as a slave of Maya. To this birth, the illumined man does not return. But by no means can he be said to be annihilated. He has become one with Sat, existence itself. By transcending the relative life, which is the same as death, he regains everlasting life. The physical body may not survive the impact of such realization. Very often it falls off like a dry leaf. The body in this case is immaterial. It has served its purpose. Through its help, the bound soul has regained its freedom. After the image is made, it matters little whether the mold be kept or thrown away. But if the body survives, as is the case with divine incarnations and other souls born with a special mission for humanity, the seer by no means remains inactive. He engages in an intense type of activity notwithstanding his apparent calmness. Through his every thought and every action, he devotes himself to the welfare of the world. Any personal motive behind his work, either for worldly enjoyment or spiritual felicity, is out of the question. Even while engaged in the most intense action, he finds that the self is immersed in peace and blessedness, and that is only the senses and their objects that busy themselves in the world. The ego, the notion of being a doer, is totally absent. It has been either bound in the knowledge of Brahman or melted in the love of God. The life of an illumined person is a perfect example of dedication and unselfishness. Truly unselfish action is not possible without the knowledge of self. True dedication is impossible without the knowledge of God. Whatever he may do, or however he may comport himself, the man of self-knowledge sees Brahman in all the phases and accessories of action. To him, Brahman is the offering and Brahman is the oblation, and it is Brahman who offers the oblation in the fire of Brahman. Brahman alone is attained by him who thus sees Brahman in action. When a man does not identify himself with the body, when he has known the Supreme Self, and when all notions of multiplicity have dropped away from him, he experiences total communion with Absolute in every action he undertakes. Such a man is the expressive verse of Sri Ramakrishna works, keeping in his pocket the knowledge of non-duality. As a pitcher immersed in water is filled with water inside and surrounded with water outside, above and below and on every hand, so also the man endowed with knowledge is filled with God consciousness inside and surrounded with it outside, above and below and on every hand. Again, as an empty pitcher suspended in the air has nothing within or without, above or below or on any hand, so also the man devoid of worldliness has nothing within or without, above or below or any offhand. As the flying bird leaves no footprint in the air and the swimming fish no track in the water, so also the knower of truth leaves no track or footprint on earth. He is known only to himself and to those who have attained self-knowledge. Thank you, and this is the end of the introduction, and we'll continue with the story of the Mahabharata